We're going to be taking another collab trip along US 15 southbound. Come on, let's go! Alright everyone, today we're going to be doing the other direction of US Highway 15, again with Quartermont 437. He will be covering the northern half of the highway, while I'll be covering the southern half. He'll also be covering New York Highway 15, and oh boy does the northern half surprise over the southern half. I mean, NCDOT does pretty well with the highway, but VDOT and SCDOT does not keep up with their end of the bargain, as they do have some stupid choices. So let us get started with this collab video on 15 southbound. But first, you're watching the TheDerpHog, where I make highways content on all sorts of different topics. If you've been enjoying it, be sure to hit that like button. And if you've been really enjoying it, be sure to smash that subscribe button so you're notified on all future videos. And if you really want to help out the channel, become a member today, where you get custom cool emojis, early access to future videos, along with one free extra request per month. And if you don't want to become a member, you can always just pay $3 for a intersection request in future videos. Those highways will be listed down in the description below, and I'll make sure to shout you out when that video releases. So let's get on with the highway. Here's the map of US 15 once again, and in this video we're going to be starting in Corning, New York and head all the way down to Walterboro, South Carolina. So with that, here's southbound US Highway 15.
Hello everyone, Quartermont 437 here, and I will be your guide for this northern portion of the US 15 southbound video. So let's get started. Here in downtown Rochester, we have a sign telling us that if we want to get to eastbound Interstate 490 and southbound New York 15, which is where we will be starting this journey, because this used to be US 15 coming here to Rochester. But yeah, to access these routes, we will turn left, and we end up here on South Avenue, where we have the choice to go on to Interstate 490 East or continue straight ahead to start New York 15. And at this intersection where New York 15, well, I guess this is like just south of where New York 15 actually begins. I'm not entirely sure, but anyway, we will be making a right turn here. And we meet Interstate 390, which is signed to North Interstate 590. If you make a right turn here, we will be continuing straight. And on Interstate 390, New York 15 gets two Kentucky treatments as its controls. Now, one of them I can kind of understand, because, you know, if you turn back north, you'll just be heading back into the city. But I feel like southbound we should get a proper control city, because, you know, we're heading away from Rochester. And here is where we are crossing over Interstate 90, the New York Thruway. And then we meet Interstate 390 once again. And on Interstate 390 this time, New York 15 along with New York 251 are getting signed for Rush and Scottsville, and that is entirely favoring New York 251. 15 doesn't even get a control city here, which I believe should be Livonia. So I think one of those should be swapped out. And now here we are meeting New York 5 along with US 20, which are on a concurrency at this intersection. And we meet Interstate 390 for a third time, where on 390 we get three southbound controls of Lakeville, Kansas Lake, I don't know how to pronounce that, and Livonia, so those are good to see. Here we are meeting and going to have a brief concurrency with US 20A, as once again we can see we are getting signed for Livonia. And now we split off of US 20A as we make this right turn to continue south on New York 15. And here is our first mileage sign, which is only just a one line with a straight up arrow, and the place on it is Wayland at 5 miles away. And I think that does make sense for New York 15 because that is where New York 15 will be ending and we'll be joining up with Interstate 390. And then here we are meeting New York routes 21 and 63. And straight ahead, the control is Hornell because that is for New York 21, which will continue after New York 15 ends. We have a little concurrency with New York 21. And now here is the end of New York Route 15. As I mentioned, New York 21 goes straight ahead to Cornell. And Interstate 390 gets the good control cities of Corning and Rochester. Those are good to see. I really like that. Here is the end of Interstate 390. As we dump into Interstate 86, we will be continuing straight ahead for Corning. And this sign right here says Interstate 86 West Jamestown. Although I believe the street view is from like August of 2023. And I believe at this interchange, 86 West is now getting signed for Erie. So that is good on New York for changing that because Jamestown is absolutely not the right choice for 86 westbound. And now here is where we come to the northern beginning of Interstate 99 as well as US 15 in New York. And we are getting signed south for Williamsport and Gang Mills. As we can also see Interstate 86 getting signed east for Corning and Binghamton. And also, this picture right here was taken by Tiger Raven, so thank you for sending that to us. And this will not be the only picture that we will see from him, and not by a long shot. We will actually see quite a few of his pictures in this video, because he drove on US 15 southbound from New York down to Maryland. In fact, here is our Pennsylvania welcome sign as we cross the border. This is another one of Tiger Raven's pictures. So once again, thank you very much for sending us these pictures, and we could use them in this video. So let us continue into Pennsylvania. And the first mileage sign we will take a look at in Pennsylvania has Mansfield on the top line at 14 miles away and Williamsport on the bottom line at 59 miles away. So that is the correct choice right there. And now we are meeting US 6 is getting signed for Mansfield and Walterboro. And this interchange right here was requested by Tornado's Gaming channel. So thank you for that request. Now we come into Williamsport and we are meeting Interstate 180 and US 220. And we will have a brief concurrency with both of those routes as we are getting signed for Montoursville and Lewisburg. This is where US 15 splits off of Interstate 180 and US 220. And we get signed Market Street and Lewisburg because after you get off the ramp up there, if you make a left turn, you will be on Market Street, and that would be how you would get into downtown Williamsport from here. And then as we leave the Williamsport area, we get a mileage sign with Allenwood on the top line and Lewisburg on the bottom line at 22 miles away. I think that is a sensible choice. And now we meet Interstate 80 where it gets its terrible control cities of eastbound for Bloomsburg and westbound for Bellefonte as opposed to, New York City and State College. Also, this is another picture that was sent to us by Tiger Raven. And then the next mileage sign we see has Lewisburg on the top line at 5 miles away, and we got Sunbury on the bottom line at 16 miles away. And I think this makes sense because we will be joining up with Pennsylvania 147 and having a short concurrency with that route. And then 147 will go over the Susquehanna River into Sunbury, which is a fairly sizable town, so I like seeing it here. And speaking of Pennsylvania 147, here is where that concurrency will begin. We can see northbound 147 is getting signed to Interstate 80 and Interstate 180 getting signed for no pin. And I think in this direction, meeting Pennsylvania 147, that's actually a fine choice, because if you're on this part of US 15 southbound, you're likely already coming from Williamsport, or you're coming like from the east or the west, and it would have been better for you to take 15 northbound or Interstate 180. So I can definitely understand the Milton signage here. And then we get a pull through for southbound Pennsylvania 147 and US 15 for Sunbury and Selinsgrove. And I think that makes sense. Oh yeah, also, by the way, that last picture, that was my own picture on US 15 southbound. And here's another one of mine where I got the error shield that Pennsylvania had here, where they mislabeled Pennsylvania 61 as US 61. Although, since I took this picture, they actually have fixed that, so that's good. And here is where Pennsylvania 147 splits off of us, although we get no indication of that on this overhead. We just see South Pennsylvania 61 for Sunbury, as we get pulled through for US 11 and 15, since we are joining a concurrency with that route, which we will have all the way south of Harrisburg. And that is what we are getting signed for, along with Selinsgrove. Also, this is another picture that was sent to us by Tiger Raven. And now here's one of my own pictures on 11 and 15, where this is the northern end of US 522 is getting signed south for Selinsgrove, and we are getting signed for Harrisburg. So these are the right choices. And on our next mileage sign, Harrisburg is on the bottom line at 47 miles away, in front of all this lovely fall foliage. And now we are meeting US 22 and 322, getting signed eastbound for Harrisburg, and I don't even want to talk about what the westbound control is, because we already discussed that in the northbound episode, and I do not agree with it. And this is yet another one of Tiger Raven's pictures. Now we are meeting Interstate 81, getting signed northbound for Harrisburg and southbound for Carlisle. I feel like at this point you could make an argument for not signing 81 for Harrisburg, because you would have already had other options to get to Harrisburg, like 22, 322, which we just saw. But I mean, this is the capital, so I guess it's not too bad. Also, we see an odd fraction of 3/8 of a mile for the northbound ramp, but Carlisle, absolutely no. That should be Hagerstown, Maryland, or Roanoke, Virginia. One of those, take a pick. It would still be better either way. And now here is where US 11 splits off to go to Carlisle, and I think for this route right here, along with Pennsylvania 581, that does make sense, because, you know, it's not as major of a route. And then we got a pull through here on US 15 Independent for Gettysburg, and you could almost argue, I feel like, that Frederick should be on this sign, but Gettysburg, it's fairly sizable. Also a really famous town, so it's fine. And now we meet Interstate 76, the Pennsylvania Turnpike, getting signed for Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, as it should be. That is absolutely correct. Great job right there. And now here we are meeting US 30, just signed for York Street, because this is how you would get to downtown Gettysburg. And we're meeting Pennsylvania 97 once again, also getting signed as just Baltimore Street. And here is our last mileage sign in Pennsylvania. It is just a one-liner with Frederick on it at 25 miles away. And you know what? This is actually a good use of a one-line mileage sign because there's not really too much south of Frederick that you could sign that's sizable. I mean, maybe you could also put Leesburg, but if you're just gonna have one on there, Frederick is fine because it's really the biggest thing we're gonna pass through for quite a long time. And here we are coming into Maryland. This is where we meet US 40 westbound, and we also see some information about Interstate 272, Interstate 70 and 40 east in 1 mile. Also, we have a picture by Tiger Raven that he took on Patrick Street, and we can see that 15 northbound is getting signed for Gettysburg, and 15 south and 40 east are getting signed for Baltimore and Washington. So great control cities for US routes there. And yeah, credits to Tiger Raven. And we have one more picture from him as well. This is on Interstate 70, where we are now getting signed south for Leesburg, along with US 340, which is going to Charlestown, West Virginia. And now here is where we will exit here's where US 15 will exit itself and join up with 340 as we get those same control cities once again. And here's where we pass under Interstate 70. This is where US 340 splits off, and we are still getting signed south for Leesburg, which I think is the correct choice. And now here we are crossing over the Potomac River into Virginia. Here is our Welcome to Virginia sign. And on our first mileage sign in Virginia, we get Luckett's at 4 miles away, Leesburg at 12 miles away, and our bottom line is Culpeper at 72 miles away, which I think is really interesting because there are other towns along the way that I would argue you can sign on 15. But anyway, here we are meeting Virginia 267, the Dulles Tollway, getting signed for the airport and Washington. And on this pull through here, we can see that we are getting signed for Leesburg and Warrenton. So Culpeper goes away, but again, I think Warrenton is a fine control for 15 southbound. And now we meet Business US 15, which is getting signed for Leesburg. We are getting signed for Warrenton, and we also see, if you continue straight ahead, you'll be on Virginia 7 westbound, which is getting signed for Winchester. And now here we are meeting US 50 at this roundabout, kind of in the middle of nowhere. Is getting signed for Washington and Winchester, and we are getting signed straight ahead for Warrenton. And I like all those choices, and interestingly, they all start with W. Now we're meeting Interstate 66, which is getting signed westbound for Front Royal, which is probably not the best choice, but at the same time, I don't really know what else you could go with. Todd made a whole little segment explaining what he thinks you could do with 66 West. DerpHog, like, if you're seeing this like in the editing or whatever, make sure you put a link to that in the description. But anyway, now we got another mileage sign where we get Warrenton on the top line, Culpeper in the middle at 37 miles away, and we got Farmville on the bottom line at 136 miles away. So yeah, Farmville is only like 7,000 people. I really don't think you should be signing it from this far away. I feel like what you should do here instead is put Charlottesville on the bottom line, because not too far away from here, we're also going to be joining up with US 29, having a concurrency with that, and it will be going to Charlottesville. And Charlottesville is a lot closer to here and like 6 times the size of Farmville. So yeah, put that on the mileage sign. Speaking of US 29, here is where we meet and become concurrent with that route. Northbound is getting signed for Washington, and southbound we're getting signed for Warrenton and Culpeper. Here is where we are also joining up with US 17. Northbound is getting signed for Winchester. We meet Business US 15 and 29, which are getting signed for Warrenton, and also 2 westbound US 211 for Luray. And all 3 of these routes that we're going to have a concurrency with, they're getting signed for Culpeper and Fredericksburg. So all of these choices are correct right here. This is a very well signed gantry. And on our next mileage sign, Fredericksburg is on our bottom line at 35 miles away. So I think that makes a whole lot of sense. We are favoring US 17 southbound, and Fredericksburg is a pretty big city and a place that US 17 does indeed go to. Here is where US 17 splits off as it gets signed to Interstate 95 Fredericksburg, and we are now just left with 15 and 29 south for Culpeper and Charlottesville. And on the last mileage sign that I will show you in my portion of this video, Charlottesville is on the bottom line at 61 miles away. So that is some really good stuff right there. We are meeting US 522 and Virginia 3. They are getting signed for Culpeper and Fredericksburg. Interesting that the US shield for 522, there appears to be a regular shield for a 2-digit route, and so they kind of had to squeeze the 522 on there, and then for Virginia 3, the number is really small. Very, very interesting sign. And now here is the last sign for my portion of this video, where we split off of US 29 getting signed for Culpeper and Orange. So with that, it is now time for me to hand the reins over to TheDerpHog, and he will do the rest of the video. So bye bye everyone.
We begin the southern portion of US Highway 15 here with this mileage sign, with Farmville on the bottom line at 98 miles away, which I think is an alright choice because Farmville is one of the biggest places that we'll be passing through before we get into North Carolina and go towards Durham. And this here is actually in Orange, Virginia. We're meeting with Virginia 20 here, which will take you over to Wilderness and Virginia Highway 3, while we're still getting signed for Gordonsville and Farmville. And this here is in Gordonsville. We're going to be concurrent with US 33 as we are heading towards Farmville still, while 33 West will be taking you over to Harrisonburg and US Highway 11. And once US 33 joins with us, we get another mileage sign with Richmond being 33's primary, which definitely is an awesome choice, while 15's primary is still Farmville from 73 miles away. Here's where US 33 splits off from US Highway 15 as it will take you over to Richmond, while we're going to be continuing south towards Farmville and to Interstate 64. And our next mileage sign, we do get Farmville as our primary from 71 miles away still. And here we are meeting with Interstate 64, I think at like a DDI if I remember correctly. And 64 West is getting signed for Charlottesville, while 64 East is getting signed for Richmond, which are definitely good choices. Now we're meeting with US Highway 250 here, and let us see what this mileage sign says up ahead for US 15. We still get Farmville as our primary from 60 miles away. Now we're meeting with actual US Highway 60 here at Sprouse's Corner, and we can see that up ahead that 15 is now getting signed south for Clarksville. Why in the world are we getting signed for Clarksville? Clarksville only has like 1,700 people. Yeah, I know we meet US 58 there, but it's literally the last town in Virginia. So, Virginia, why are you being provincial here? This should be either Oxford or Durham. Clarksville is just way too small to be signed from almost 80 miles away. It's not Farmville. And then to make it even worse, once we join US 460 in Farmville, we're now getting signed for Keysville. Do you want to know what the population of Keysville is? It's only 800 people, so Virginia, why in the world are you giving 15 South A place that only has 800 people. That should be Oxford and Petersburg, or Durham and Petersburg, not Keysville. Take that Keysville off of there. And once we split off from 460, we're still getting signed for Keysville. No, I'm gonna take away your keys and throw them into the lake because you're signing Keysville, Oxford, or Durham. In our next mileage time, we now get Clarksville. Again, I want to see Oxford or Durham here, not Clarksville. Now we're meeting with US Highway 360 in Keysville, as we're still getting signed for Clarksville, while 360 East is getting signed for Richmond, which definitely is an alright choice. But still, I don't want to see that Clarksville there. That should definitely be Oxford. Our next mileage time, we get Clarksville on the top line, South Boston as 360 is, along with Danville, because that's where 360 will also take you. And once we split off from US Highway 360, we're now getting signed for Wiley'sburg in Clarksville. Again, I want to see Oxford or Durham here. And then our next mileage time, we finally get Oxford as our primary. Where was it from? I wanted to see it from like Farmville, not here. And then here in Clarksville, we're meeting with US Highway 58, and we're now getting signed for South Boston. That's where US 58 is going. What about us? And then once we split off from US Highway 58, we're getting signed for Oxford, which definitely is the good choice. And here we are, entering into the state of North Carolina. Oh boy, let's see what North Carolina has to offer. Hey, NCDOT is starting off strong here with Durham as our primary from 40 miles away. This deserves a rare W. Now we're meeting with US Highway 158 here in Oxford, and US 15 is going to be continuing south into downtown Oxford. Here is a cool picture of downtown Oxford, as North Carolina 96 is going to be joining with us as we head through downtown. And then still in Oxford, we're now getting signed for Creedmoor, which I think is an alright choice, because a little ways south of here, we're actually meeting with Interstate 85, and 85 will be the fastest way to get to Durham. I don't think anyone would be staying on 15 just to go through Creedmoor just to get back onto 85 to head towards Durham. So Creedmoor is a good choice here, and I don't know why a random county road is getting signed for STEM. I've never heard of that place, and I live in this state. Here we are meeting with Interstate 85 at good old exit 202, and it is getting signed south for Durham, which definitely is the correct choice. And we're going to be meeting with Interstate 85 once again further up the road. Our next mileage time, we do get Durham now as our primary from 27 miles away. I mean, like I said, I prefer to just see a one-liner here because people would have probably just gone on to 85 and take that to Durham. But Durham is still a good choice for 15 south. And then here in Creedmoor, we're meeting with North Carolina Highway 50, its northern terminus, along with North Carolina Highway 56 here, which will take you back over to Interstate 85. And then our next mileage time, we get Durham on the top line at 16 miles away and Chapel Hill from 28. Interesting. Now we're meeting with Interstate 85 once again at exit 186 here, and we're actually being concurrent with it as we head towards Durham. And after crossing over Falls Lake, we're now entering into the city of Durham, where we're meeting with US Highway 70 and Interstate 885 here. And they're getting signed southeast for Raleigh, which definitely is the correct choice. While 70 West is going to be joining with us as we head towards Greensboro. US 15 doesn't make it towards Greensboro, 85 and 70 do though, so that is definitely a good choice. And otherwise down the road, we're now meeting with US Highway 501, and 501 is now going to be concurrent with us as we start the 106 mile concurrency of 15501. Hey look, it's our good old friend North Carolina 157 for Guest Road. And this is where the 15501 splits off from Interstate 85 as they're going to be heading towards Chapel Hill, which I think is an alright choice because Chapel Hill is still a pretty big city, and it's where UNC Chapel Hill is. Plus, we also meet with North Carolina 54 there. And like I did in the northbound video, I'm going to be skipping the 15501 concurrency because I already covered it in the 501 video, which you can check out in the top right corner here. I will be showing a couple of extra things here in this video, like a couple of my own pictures here where I got a selfie with the 15501 shield, and on my Texas trip I managed to get onto a 15501 for a short time, so yeah, that's pretty cool. And after the 106 mile concurrency, we're now going to be joining with US 401 here. And like I did in the northbound video, I'm also going to be skipping the 15401 concurrency, as I showed that in the both 401 videos. And after very long concurrencies with two of the US 1 children, we're finally splitting off from US 401 here. And this is not going to be the last time we'll be seeing it, as we're going to be heading towards Hartsville, which definitely is a good choice, because it is as big as Keysville, Virginia, so yeah, I agree with this. And here is where 15 will be taking a turn here, as we're now getting signed for Darlington and Bishopville. Interesting. The next mileage time, we get Sumter now as our primary from 42 miles away, which is definitely better than Bishopville. I mean, Bishopville is still pretty sizable, but Sumter is very famous and way larger than Bishopville. And then after going through Hartsville, we get another mileage sign, and we get Columbia. SCDOT is signing Columbia on US 15. US 15 doesn't even make it to Columbia. This is a rare SC.W. Let's go! Woohoo! I bet this is the reason why we're being signed for Columbia, is because of Interstate 20, which will take you to Columbia. And yes, I did manage to get my own picture of this interchange off of Interstate 20 here. And we're now getting signed for Sumter still, which definitely is the correct choice. So, free W's all around here. And then we just get a one-liner with Sumter from 20 miles away, which is an alright choice. Here in Sumter, we're meeting with US 378 along with US 76 here, as they're getting signed for Columbia and Conway, while we're going to be heading into downtown Sumter here. Here we meet with our good old friend US 401 once again, and this is actually very close to its southern terminus, as it's getting signed for Darlington for northbound, while we're getting signed for Somerton? SCDOT, why in the world are we being signed for Somerton? Yeah, that's where we meet US 301 and be concurrent with it. But Somerton has the same population as Keysville, Virginia. So why don't you sign either St. George or Walterboro? You signed Sumter from Walterboro going northbound, so why can't you do the same thing going southbound? You were doing so good, SCDOT. But when we meet US 521, we're still getting signed for Somerton. No, that should be St. George or Walterboro, not Somerton. In Somerton, we're meeting with US 301 here, and we're finally getting signed for Walterboro, which definitely is the correct choice. And we're also going to be heading towards Interstate 95. Here we are meeting with Interstate 95, and we're going to be concurrent with it as we head south towards Savannah. And I'm going to be skipping the 95 and 15301 concurrency, as it's just a convoluted mess, and I don't know where 15 and 301 get off of Interstate 95, so I'll just be skipping it. But though we do have a picture this one was taken by Ryan Golden as they took a picture of Lake Hartwell here off of Interstate 95, and that looks actually pretty cool. Thanks for this picture. And here's where US 15 splits off from 301 as we're now getting signed for St. George. I mean, I prefer to see Walterboro, but St. George is still an alright choice. It's pretty sizable and it's where we meet US 78. But on our next mileage sign, we do not get a mention of either St. George or Walterboro. We get Holly Hill from 11 miles away. Do you want to know where Holly Hill is? It's not on US Highway 15. It's actually on US Highway 176, which is where we meet it in the unincorporated community of Wells. So, why in the world are you signing Wells on a mileage sign, SCDOT? That does not need to be there. If you want to put something for US 176, keep this Holly Hill, but remove this Wells and put either Walterboro or St. George on this bottom line. This is a stupid choice mileage sign. I do not want to see it. Please, just change it. Anyways, we're meeting with Interstate 95 once again. It just gets the same control cities as we were joining it a couple miles up the road from here. And on Interstate 95, we're getting signed for Holly Hill. I want to see both Holly Hill and St. George or Walterboro here. Here we are meeting with US 176 in Wells, and we're now getting signed for St. George, which definitely is the correct choice. I mean, I could also like to see Walterboro here too, but St. George is still pretty sizable. And then our next mileage time, we do get a one-liner with St. George from 16 miles away. And we're now meeting with Interstate 26, which is being signed for the two C cities, Charleston and Columbia, which are awesome. We meet with US 178 here in the middle of nowhere, South Carolina, and for some reason we don't get any control cities for either 15 or 178 here. Anyways, here in St. George, we're meeting with US Highway 78 in front of Chris's corner here. Can I go inside that and ask Chris to put up a US 78 shield? Because apparently SCDOT does not want to do it. Like, come on SCDOT, why are you neglecting US 78? And then outside of St. George, we get a direction sign here with Walterboro as our primary from 14 miles away. I mean, we're almost at the end of US Highway 15, so yeah, that is definitely the correct choice here. And then our last mileage sign on US Highway 15, we get Savannah. Savannah from 84 miles away? Wow, this is awesome, SCDOT. You definitely have redeemed yourself, and you get another trophy for signing Savannah. This is totally cool. And then here in downtown Walterboro, we end at US Highway 17 alternate, and sadly we do not get an end US 15 shield. All we just get is 17 alternate southbound, which will take you to Savannah, which definitely is the correct choice. So with that, we end US Highway 15 and move on to the way it should be. So these are all the towns that I think should be signed along US Highway 15 in both directions. If you have any agreements or disagreements, please let me know in the comment section below, and I'd love to argue about this list of control cities for US Highway 15. And that ends the US Highway 15 collab video. Thank y'all so much for watching this collab video on the other direction of US Highway 15. I hope you enjoyed learning a lot about the highway through both of our experiences, and thanks again to Quartermanch437 for collabing with me on this highway. Anyways, here are my next few highways. If you have any requests for any of these upcoming highways, please let me know down in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to shout you out when these highways releases. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see y'all next week as we do the other direction of US 23.